Because first of all, one of the conditions of the caliph is that they have to be able to defend the Muslim lands. And I'm sorry, these guys are living in a fantasy world. They live in fantasy land. One atomic bomb. That's all it will take. And zealots always, God's going to give us victory. It's not the way it works, people. Allah has sunan. The Prophet ﷺ was not suicidal. When he saw that the odds were not favored for him, then he didn't do it. And that's why the Quran, Al-ana khaffafa Allahu ankum wa alima anna fikum da'fa. Originally it was 20 to 1, right? That's the original parity. Allah said, no, I know that you're weak, so it's 2 to 1. At least don't flee when it's 2 to 1. So Islam is a religion of sunan. It's not, we don't believe in, I read a book when I was very young called Ayatul Rahman fi Jihad al-Afghan. And this book really spread in the Muslim world, and it was all about these miracles of the jihad in Afghanistan. Look at Afghanistan now, 30 years. Where is the Ayatul Rahman fi Jihad al-Afghan? Where are they? I'd like to see them. These Ayatul Rahman. And look at Afghanistan now, So Muslims have to be serious about this stuff and think deeply about it. They're big problems in the community. Abu Hamid says, اتقاء مواضع الخلاف مهم في الورع في حق المفتي والمقلد. That avoiding the positions of khilaf is important in wara' في حق المفتي والمقلد, in both the mufti and the one imitating them. فإذا أفتى المقلد فإذا أفتى المقلد إمامه بشيء ولإمامه فيه مخالف فالفرار من الخلاف إلى الإجماع من الورع المذكور. So if somebody is a muqallid and he gives a fatwa that is different from what his imam has said, then getting out of the khilaf and going to the ijma' is from this wara', from this scrupulousness. So you should avoid, in giving fatwas, you should always try to give what is the dominant opinion or the ijma' and not go against. وقال محي الدين النووي أهل العلم متفقون على الحث على الخروج من الخلاف إذا لم يلزم منه إخلال بالسنة. Imam Nawawi said that the people of knowledge are in agreement that one should avoid, should attempt to get out of any khilaf as long as it doesn't lead to some blemish in following the sunnah. And that's called the mura'atul khilaf in usul, which is if the imam, so for instance, if Imam Shafi'i says you should do the basmala, and he argues that it's part of the Fatiha, then because normally a Maliki would follow that, mura'atan al-khilaf, but because he's leaving a sunnah in his madhab, then he doesn't do it. So that's what he means. So you should usually follow the khilaf, but if it's going to affect a sunnah in your madhab or doing something makruh, because kurihat al-basmala, the basmala is makruh in the Maliki madhab. So you don't do something to get out of khilaf if it means doing something makruh or leaving a sunnah in your own madhab. If it doesn't, then it's good. So, for instance, with women who are menstruating and recitation of the Quran, there's a khilaf about that. The Malikis, though, permit it. And it's not really tatab' rukhas to follow the Maliki position in that, because the rukhas are to get out of ibadah. So you're trying to get into ibadah. And so if a woman says, I'm going to take that position, then that's her prerogative as a woman, because she's not doing it to avoid ibadah or to make something easier. She's doing it because she wants to do more ibadah. And if she finds an imam that facilitates that for her, and it's a valid position agreed upon, then that's an example. Or she can follow her madhab that says that she shouldn't read the Quran when she's menstruating. But for some women, that's 10 days out of the month, which is a third of her lifetime. Right? It's a lot of time. And some women really need to recite the Quran just for their own well-being. Anyway, those are khilaf issues. We respect all the imams about this. قال أبو مصعب كان مالك يطيل السجود والركوع وإذا وقف في الصلاة كأنه خشبة يابسة لا يتحرك منه شيء فلما أصابه ما أصابه قيل له لو خففت من هذا قليلا قال لا ينبغي أن يعمل عملا لله إلا حسنه قال تعالى ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Imam Malik, wow. Yeah. Imam Malik radiyallahu anhu, that he used to do a long sujood and a long ruku' in his prayer. And if he stood, he was like a dry piece of wood. Like he was just so straight. Nothing moved from him. And in the Maliki madhab, to move around is qillat al-khushu'. Khushu' is stillness. And this is why what's called idhar al-khushu'. You know, the Malikis consider to, they consider like to be like that, idhar al-khushu'. That's makruh. To like show, you're actually supposed to look relaxed. But the khushu' is that you don't move. That's the khushu'. It's actually not doing that. Like a lot of people do that. That's actually makruh in the madhab. I mean, I'm not making fun of anybody, But yeah, thank you. That's makruh to do that, to show in the Maliki madhab. I don't know what the. He said anybody that does something for the sake of Allah, he should do it really well. Allah says to test you to see which of you is أحسن عملا. انظر هذا الذي كان عليه مالك من الجد في الدين وما أجمع عليه العلماء من اتقاء مواضع الخلاف ومراعاة الأنفاس مع الله وإثار الأثقل على النفس والأفضل الذي لو فجأه الموت وهو عليه ما وجد أفضل منه. So he said, look at how these people were. Malik, look how serious he was in his religion and what the ulama agreed upon, avoiding these differences of opinion and guarding the breast with God and preferring difficult things on the self and recognizing that the best state to be in is that if death came to you, you wouldn't want to be in any other state. ولا يود أن يلقى الله إلا عليه كما قال السحنون وغيره هو الحق الذي لا شك فيه فمن ذم ما دون هذا المقام أو قال إنه من لهو الحديث أو قال بدعة أو فماذا بعد الحق إلا الضلال بالنسبة لهذا المقام فأقول بموجبه. So he's saying now فمن ذم ما دون هذا المقام, as for those who say that less than this maqam is lahu and it's bid'ah, or they say what's after the haqq except dalal, he said, I'm going to say, فأما الذم مطلقا من غير نسبة إضافية ولا سيما وربما لا يكون هو في هذا المقام فذلك حجة عليه. Right? So he's saying, as to make some general blanket statement about that this is the only way, he said that's wrong. The nisbah is idafiyah, and he said, especially for somebody who's not in this maqam, to say that it becomes a hujjah against him if that's not his maqam. And then he says that the real sounds madhab, right? لِبَهَاءَ أَقَاوِيلِ الْعُلَمَاءِ فِي الْآيَةِ. Look at what the ulama have said in the ayah that I opened this book with, that there's three groups. ومن شأن العلماء بالله وبأحكام الله أن يذهبوا مع الناس في الرخصة والسعة ما لم يخاف المأثم. صح من التمهيد. So Ibn Abdul Barr, one of the great scholars of Andalusia, said the ulama of Allah and of the ahkam of Allah, that they make things easy for people, make them expansive for people as long as they don't fear sinfulness. And this is from the Tamheed. ومن الرسالة رويم من جملة المشايخ مقرئا فقيها قال من حكم الحاكم أن يوسع على إخوانه في الأحكام ويضيق على نفسه فيها، فإن توسعة اتباع العلم وتضييق على نفسك من حكم الورع. Ruwaym, one of the great Maliki scholars, he said, من حكم الحاكم, or from من حكم الحاكم, that a judge should make things easy for his brothers, the mufti in ahkam, but he should be hard on himself, because making things easy is ittiba' al-ilm, and making things hard on the self is the wara', it's scrupulousness. وسيأتي إن المرء لا يأخذ على أهله بالورع. A man should never force the difficult positions on his family. And then he says, ولما ذكر الإمام المربي المريدين البلالي ثمرات المحبة قال ومنها نظر غير الكفرة بعين الرحمة فمن فقد هذه العلامات كذب في دعوى المحبة. Imam al-Bilali says that from the fruits of mahabba is that he looks at other than the atheists with the eye of mercy, right? And فمن فقد هذه العلامات كذب في دعوى المحبة. And if somebody loses these signs, he's a liar in love, because the Prophet ﷺ loved people. And also, I would put because there's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يؤمن أحدكم لا تؤمنون حتى تراحموا. You won't truly believe until you have mercy with one another. لا تؤمنوا حتى تراحموا. And one of the Sahaba said, كلنا رحيم يا رسول الله. All of us are merciful, O Messenger of Allah. He said, ليست رحمة أحدكم لصاحبه ولكنها رحمة الناس رحمة العامة. It's not the mercy that you have to your brother. It's universal mercy. That's in the Musnad. So the Prophet was a rahmah for everybody. He even looked at disbelievers with rahmah. And so that's important to remember. And then he goes into the masarat of istilqa, which is an interesting, because of a hadith. And then he mentions about the dancing, the people of Habasha. And he has a very nice story here that I wanted to share with you. He says, he talks about that Ibn Rushd said, لا يجوز الاستدلال بالرؤية على حكم شرعي, that you can't use a vision that you see in a dream. رؤية is like رؤية العين with a ta. When it has alif maqsura, it's a vision, right? And so you can't use a vision to have a حكم شرعي, to have a legal ruling. وانظر أيضا من نص الشاطبي على جوازه, but Imam Shatibi permitted certain things. ورشح الجواز خوف أن يظن أن ذلك مما لا ينبغي, مثل الإمام الذي التزم شعرا ينشده دبر كل صلاة. قال الشاطبي إن قوم أتوا عمر بن الخطاب. So Imam Shatibi relates a story that a group went to Umar ibn al-Khattab. فقالوا له يا أمير المؤمنين إن لنا إماما إذا فرغ من صلاته تغنى. فقال له عمر, يعني أحضره, فقال له عمر ويحك بلغني عنك أمر سأني. فقال له وما هو يا أمير المؤمنين فإني أعينك من نفسي. قال فإنه بلغني أنك إذا صليت تغنيت. قال نعم يا أمير المؤمنين. قال أتتمجن في عبادتك؟ قال لا يا أمير المؤمنين ولكنها عظة أعيذ بها نفسي. قال عمر فقلها وإن كان كلاما حسنا قلته معك وإن كان قبيحا نهيتك عنه. فأنشد أبياتا منها نفس لا كنت ولا كان الهوى راقب المولى وخافي وارهبي. فقال عمر نفس لا كنت ولا كان الهوى راقب المولى وخافي وارهبي. ثم قال له عمر على هذا فليغني من غنى. So he said that he heard an imam that used to sing after he prayed. They came to Omar complaining about this imam. This guy prays and then he starts singing. So he said, bring him to me. And he comes and he says, I heard something really bothered me about you. I heard every time you pray, you sing. He said, well, first he said, no, tell me what it is and I'll help you with preventing me. He said, you pray and then you sing. He said, indeed, I do that. And he said, are you being shameless in your worship? And then he said, no, it's just, I'd like to remind myself. It's like a wow. It's a idha. A'idhu biha nafsi. So Omar said, let's hear it. If it's good, I'll say it with you. And if it's not, I'm going to tell you not to do it. So he sang some lines. And from them, inshad, this is inshad. And he said, oh soul, you didn't exist, nor did my hawa exist. So beware of your Lord and fear him and be in awe. You know, it's like you're here now, but there was a point when you weren't here. So have some awareness of the one that brought you here. So when Omar heard that, he said the same thing. And then he said, those who wish to sing, let him sing things like this. Right? So he says, Shatibi says, تأمل قوله بلغني عنك أمر سأني مع قوله أتتمجن في عبادتك. So look at Omar saying, I've heard something about you that's bothered me, and are you being shameless in your worship? فهي من أشد ما يكون في الإنكار. This is like the worst kind of inkar that you can make on somebody, what Omar said to him. حتى علمه أنه يردد على لسانه أبيات حكمة فيها عظة. فحينئذ أقره وسلم له أحسن من هذا. قال الشاطبي هذا كان فعل القوم. قالوا وهم مع ذلك لم يقتصروا في التنشيط للنفوس ولا الوعظ على مجرد الشعر بل وعظوا أنفسهم بكل موعظة. So this is the nas of Imam Shatibi. He said, look at how he condemns him, but then when he hears that this is something that was wisdom and he was using it to exhort himself, and then he agreed with it, and even more than that, he sang it with him. So he says, this is the way the people were. They didn't just لم يقتصروا في التنشيط للنفوس ولا الوعظ على مجرد الشعر. It wasn't just poetry that they used to exhort themselves. They exhorted themselves with anything that was beneficial to them. انظر أيضا تنبيها على ما توهم أنه يلزمه أنه يكرهه لما ذكر مذهبه في الدعاء أدبار الصلوات. Also the prayer after the salawat. عمر رضي الله عنه كان إذا صلى العشاء أخرج الناس من المسجد. They used to close the masjid, Omar. In fact, Al-Saud is the first dynasty in our history that has kept the Prophet's mosque open 24 hours. Because they used to always close it after Isha, from the Sunnah of Omar. So he would close it. فتخلف ليلة مع قوم يذكرون الله فأتى إليهم فعرفهم فألقى درته وجلس معهم وجعل يقول يا فلان ادعوا الله لي يا فلان ادعوا الله لي حتى صار الدعاء إلى عمر فكانوا يقولون عمر فظ غليظ ولم أرى أحدا من الناس تلك الساعة أرق من عمر لا ثكل ولا أحد. Tough one. And he said, but I didn't see anyone that night with a more brittle heart than Omar. Not women wailing over their dead ones or anyone, you know. فقال رجل لأنس يوم يا أبا حمزة لو دعوت الله لنا بدعوات فقال اللهم أتينا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. قال شاطبي إذا كان الأمر على هذا فلا إنكار فيه. So he's talking about dua as a group, you know, because some people reject that and say it's a bid'ah and things like that, right? He's saying, look at these people. Anything that was good, they supported it like that. And this is why he says after this, حقيقة البدعة المذمومة حسب ما يأتي هي التي تميت السنة أو تكاد تفضي إلى إماتتها وإن فعلها بعد تسليمة الرد صحت صلاته بإجماع وفعل جائزا. So he's talking about the dua after the prayer, because the reality of a dua is something that kills the sunnah or leads to killing the sunnah. But things that are good, like making dua and things, are not. Okay, so can you please mention the 3 remaining hadith mentioned by Abu Dawud? Yeah. He mentioned إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ is one of them, the hadith from Umar radiallahu anhu. It's the first hadith that Imam Muslim begins his book with, and Imam Nawawi, he begins his book with it. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إلى الدنيا يصيبها وامرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. So, everybody has, their actions are by their intentions, and he said, so everyone has what they intended. Whoever makes hijrah for Allah and His Messenger, his hijrah is for Allah and His Messenger. And if he makes hijrah for some dunya to attain it, or a woman to marry her, his hijrah, his migration is to what he made that migration to. And then the second one was this one, من حسن إسلام المرء ترك ما لا يعني. From the good of a man is that, I think it's from Anas, and it's a hadith in it's a hadith that's Imam Nawawi also has in the 40 hadith. And then the third one is لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يرضى لأخيه ما يرضى لنفسه. على رواية أبي داود, that he is pleased for his brother what he's pleased for himself. The riwayah that Imam Nawawi relates in the 40 hadith is حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. It's Abu Huraira, I think, relates that, and it's the 12th hadith, I'm pretty sure, in the Nawawi's collection. And then the last one is إن الحلال بينون وإن الحرام بينون وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس. So the halal is clear and the haram is clear, and between them are doubtful matters, and they're murky, and not very many people know those matters. فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ فَقَدْ اسْتَبْرَأَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ. So whoever avoids the shubuhat, the doubtful matters, he has kept the purity of his good honor and of his religion. He's maintained a kind of purity of his dignity and his religion. وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبُهَاتِ يُوشِكُ أَنْ يَقَعَ فِي الْحَرَامِ كَالرَّاعِي, right? يَرْعَى حَوْلَ الْحِمَى. And if you fall into the shubhat, then you're going to fall into the haram. Like a ra'i, somebody who's like a shepherd, he yarta hawl al-hima, he's grazing his sheep around a sanctuary. Ala li kulli malakin hima, ala inna hima Allah maharimuhu. Every king has a sanctuary, and the sanctuary of Allah are the things He's prohibited. Ala wa inna fil jasadi mudgha, idha salahat salaha al-jasadu kulluhu. That fasal al-jasadu kulluhu ala wa hiya al-qalb. And isn't there in the breast of the human a lump of flesh? If it's sound, the whole body is sound, and if it's corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. Isn't it the heart? So those are the 4 hadiths that Abu Dawud said sufficed a person in their religion. Bismillah. Any other questions? No other questions? Allahu Akbar, huh?
You mentioned in the Rahimahullah that 4 ayahs were abrogated. Do you know which one?
The agreed upon abrogations are about the woman stays in her home until she dies, right? And then the divorce, the rada'at. There's offhand I can't think of them right now, but the abrogated, the idea that the Ayatul Sayf abrogated all of these ayahs of akhlaq, it's very difficult to swallow that. And the proof, I think, that they're muhkama is that there's no ikhtilaf. There should be no ikhtilaf in the Quran. We can differ about what the Quran means, but if you have ikhtilaf about whether a hukm is nasikh or mansukh, you should go that it's muhkam, that it's applicable. And those hadiths that they consider abrogated are really abrogated for the government, not for individuals. So the government doesn't forgive for wrong that occur to citizens, whereas a person can forgive the wrongs that are done to them. Yeah. Okay. All right. Subhanakallah. I'm a little tired. I'm going to apologize also for the. I haven't been around as much, but I'm actually at the end of a very long period of just doing too much. So my apologies for not. I would really like to spend more time with people, but I'm actually physically very, very exhausted. And I don't even like to teach in this state because my brain doesn't function as well as it does when I'm rested. And so I'm worried about just recalling things and forgetting things. So anyway, I just, I know everybody's, I'm happy to just be here with you all, but my sincere apologies for not being more social. Yeah, so my time is up.